Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Tony and I run Bloom Stitch Studios. Today we're going to be discussing my crochet do's and my crochet don'ts. I have some opinions about crochet and I have some things that I do recommend doing and some things that I just don't recommend. These are things that I have learned from, things that I am currently learning from as someone who has crocheted for like 4 years now. I have 5 of each, so I have 10 points in total to make. You guys will have to let me know what your opinions on my opinions are down in the comments below. I made a TikTok about my crochet ins and outs earlier this year and some people did not agree with me, and that is perfectly fine. We are entitled to our own opinions, but these are some things that I feel like you should do as a crocheter and some things that you just shouldn't. So of course it's okay to have your opinion. This is my opinion, but yeah, these are my crochet do's and don'ts. Crochet do number 1, weave in your ends as you go. Weave in your ends as you go. You will thank me for it later. When I was making this blanket last year, I got 3/4 of the way through without weaving in a single end, and I then had to spend a week straight just weaving in the ends. I was like, I never want to do this to myself ever again. That was the worst week of my life. Ever since that point, I have weaved in my ends as I went, and I am so grateful for that. I am making a series on TikTok of the Granny Square Source book. I am going to be bringing that series to YouTube Shorts now because I'm now making them in video form instead of slideshow form, and I am 42 squares in and every single one the ends are weaved in. When I get to the end of that blanket this year or next year, I will not have to weave in an end apart from the joining and the border. Every single square the ends are weaved. I can just look at the square, flip it around, it's finished, it's beautiful, and I am grateful already for myself for that because I have seen other TikTokers do this series and they're not weaving in their ends as they go, and when they get to the end and they just regret it, or they're getting halfway through and thinking, my god, I have a lot to do now. Just spend 5 minutes weaving in your ends every so often. Not that hard in the end of it, and you will thank yourself so much for it later. I already know some people just don't agree with that, but the next project's more enjoyable when you get to the end and it's done. Your projects may feel like they're going slower, but in reality, when you get to the end, you're not then stuck with a bunch of ends to weave in. You're done when you get to the end. That's it. Project finished. Other people, they're going to be sat there for another week or 2 because let's face it, you're going to procrastinate weaving in all those ends. That project ain't going to be done for a while, whereas if you do it as you go along, get to the end, done, finished, nothing else to do. Crochet don't, number 1. Don't buy yarn just because. It's pretty, it's cute. I'll think of something to make with that. No, you won't. That yarn will sit there on your shelf for a year because you look at it and you go, well, I only bought 1 ball of that, or I only bought 2 balls. I don't know what to make with that. You bought it just because it was pretty and now it's sat on your shelves not getting made into anything. I'm so guilty of that, especially last year was just buying yarn for funsies because I thought that's a cute colour. Let me add that to my stash. That's a cute colour. I now have about 5 mints. Why do I need that many mints? I don't. People gift you yarn as well, so you're already getting colours that you probably wouldn't even normally use anyway. And I have so many oranges that I know I'm actually not going to use, but I bought them because I thought that's a new shade of orange I don't have. I don't need them. I don't need them. This year I have not bought a single skein of yarn that I don't know what I'm going to use for it. Also, PSA, I'm so sorry for any kid noises that you hear or any loud noises. Half term, so I can't control the kids, unfortunately. I wish I could, but I can't. So apologies for any random noises that you might hear during this video. This year I have not bought a single skein that I don't know what I'm gonna make with it. I have been to Hobbycraft about 5 times already this year and I have not bought a single skein of yarn. You guys better be so proud of me because that was tough. That was really tough. But I kept looking at it and going, it's just gonna sit on my shelves until I figure out something to make with it. So what's the point? I'm taking part in this summer picnic crochet along by Sadar, and instead of going and buying the yarn pack for £40, I went through my stash and I have 80% of the colours already. There's a blue that I need, but I think I'm going to substitute it for one that I already have. I just need to get 2 whites, an iced pink and a regular pink, and if I had a bigger skein of the Hobbycraft pink that I have, I would have just used that, but I only have about 20 grams left of that and I can guarantee that's not going to be enough for the blanket. So those are probably the 4 skeins that I'm going to buy for that blanket. Other than that, everything else is coming out of my yarn stack. They might not be exact colours, but that's okay. It's gonna be the best stash busting project of 2025, I can already tell. Crochet do number 2, take regular breaks. And I'm wearing this because I did not take regular breaks. I did so good at taking regular breaks, and then this past 2 days I've just been at it with tapestries, and the repetitiveness of a single crochet is what gives me wrist pain. I can crochet double crochets for days on end. I can crochet granny squares for days on end, but you give me single crochets and I'm only supposed to do them for a few hours at a time. It makes my wrist hurt, and then I have a very physical job at times that does not help with my wrist pain either, which is why I am an advocate for taking regular breaks. This is the second time this year I've had to wear this because I have not listened to my own advice of taking regular breaks. You will thank yourself later because I am now not able to crochet for at least 2 days. All I want to do is crochet. Whereas if I had just taken a couple of breaks in my crochet sessions, I wouldn't be needing a compression glove. So that is a crochet do. Please, please, please take regular breaks and you will just thank yourself later. Crochet don't number 2. Don't use the wrong hook size for your yarn. If your yarn says to use a 6mm hook but you sat there going, I'm going to use a 3mm, you're just going to cause yourself issues. It says a hook size for a reason. Size up 1 or size down 1 depending on your tension, but don't size down too much because you will cause you issues. If you've got a thin yarn and you want it to be very baggy and meshy, of course size up your hook, but don't be getting a really chunky yarn and using a really thin hook. It's just not gonna work and you're just gonna cause yourself wrist pain. You're gonna just cause yourself issues. This checkered bag that I made, I used Lily Sugar and Cream, which recommends a 5mm hook. I had to size down one on my hook to a 4 so that it was not as gappy as if I was to use a 5mm, but my god, I had to take so many breaks making it because obviously the yarn isn't designed for a 4mm hook, it's designed for a 5mm, so it was so tight to crochet with. I love the outcome of that bag, but it was one of the things that gave me wrist pain the last time I had this. So just use the correct size hook for your yarn and you will thank yourself. Crochet do number 3, wear your crochet clothes outside. Use your crochet bags outside. Wear your crochet accessories outside, like your scrunchies. Just wear your crochet makes and use your crochet make. Admittedly, I haven't worn any of my crochet clothes outside yet, but it hasn't been the weather for the ones that I have made. I've made a poncho and a top and a hexie cardigan that still actually needs finishing, so I haven't really had the chance to wear those out yet, but we're now getting into the weather where I can. I use that checkered bag all the time and I get so many compliments on it, and I just wish that I had started using my crochet bags sooner. I also made this orange bag last year and I use it occasionally, and whenever I use it I get a compliment from at least one person, and trust me, it makes your day when you get a compliment from someone. The satisfaction of going, I made that, when they say, where did you buy that from? And the look on their face when they go, you made that, like, yep, I made it. It's the best feeling in the world, and you will only get that if you push yourself and wear that clothes or use that bag outside of your house. Your crochet clothes deserve to feel the fresh air. Crochet don't number 3. This one is specifically aimed at beginners. Don't start off with a really complex pattern because you're just gonna make yourself hate the hobby. Start off by learning your basic stitches, learning how to do a granny square. If you want to make amigurumi, start off with the basic patterns and don't force yourself to do a complicated pattern just because that's what everyone else is crocheting. They've probably been crocheting for a good while and you are starting out. You're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna struggle with where to put your stitches. Just practice. It will come to you naturally. Just please don't pick up your crochet hook one day and go, I'm gonna make a Persian tiles blanket, because you're not gonna be able to. I'm using this bag a lot because it's in my frame, but if I had tried to make that bag when I first started crocheting, I would have quit. I would have been like, no, that's not where it started. I started off by making little swatches of different stitches, practicing my stitches, counting my stitches, and then gradually going from there. And then I started working on granny squares, and then I discovered my love for granny squares. I tried a little bit of amigurumi, hated it. It really wasn't for me. Couldn't get to grips with it, and I would class myself now as a seasoned crocheter in granny squares and bags and that type of thing because I started from the basic. Don't push yourself to try a complicated pattern because you will literally just end up hating the hobby and you won't find the enjoyment in it. Crochet do number 4 is block your crochet project. mats. A lot of people I have actually come across on TikTok saying that they have never blocked anything in their crochet career. How? Blocking is so essential to crochet in my opinion. When I made my granny square blanket last year, I blocked the start of the squares and then I didn't block them after that because I didn't have the time to, because I procrastinated it so much. It was actually quite hard to join the squares up. I have blocked 80% of the squares for my granny square series and I can already see that they're going to be so much easier to stitch together because the stitches like line up really well. It helps get the corners really pointy, which is what you want when you're joining granny squares. Blocking crochet wearables, you can either do it on the big mats on the floor or you can steam them, and it just helps relax the stitching. My poncho, I'll try and insert like a before and after I steamed it, and there's not a massive difference, but wearing it I can tell that it's longer, it's flowier, it's not as stiff, and my arms grew a little bit in length, and that was all thanks to steaming it because it loosened the fibers, and that's what you want in your crochet wearables. Obviously if you want a really stiff wearable, go for it, but it's not going to be comfy to wear, and the whole point of a wearable is to wear it. So I will always be an advocate for blocking your crochet projects. I will link my Amazon storefront down in the description below because I have a few crochet essentials like the blocking board that I use and like my favorite yarns and whatnot down and linked in my storefront in case you guys want to go check them out. But yeah, blocking crochet projects is always, for me, a must anyway. I love a good blocking session, especially when I have wrist pain because I'm still doing crochet. I'm just not actually physically like with a hook. I'm just being productive in other ways of my crochet. So I always recommend blocking your projects, and it is 100% a crochet do for me. Crochet don't number 4. Don't skip out on making a gauge swatch. Admittedly, I made my first gauge swatch this year in January, but my god, I learnt the importance of a gauge swatch because with this crochet tapestry blanket that I'm making, the yarn recommends a 5mm hook. So I made my swatch up in a 5mm hook and it was too big. So I sized down my hook and it made it the perfect size for what it should be. If I had made the entire blanket in a 5mm hook, it would have been way too big. Way too big, and I'm so glad that I sized down my hook. All the other patterns that I have made haven't actually used a gauge swatch, which is why I have never made one before, especially if you're making clothes that follow a pattern. If it has the gauge swatch, just make it. It's not that hard. It will take up 20 minutes of your time, but it will make your project easier in the long run because you won't get halfway through making it and be like, oh no, it's too small, or oh no, it's way too big. Like, you'll make it the perfect size for what you want. I was always one of those people who thought it was silly to do a gauge swatch. Like, I thought, what's the point in that? You don't need one, but it's just so important. And I will now always make time for a gauge swatch. Crochet do number 5, and the last one of the crochet do's is frogging projects you know you won't finish. Don't let them just sit on the shelf. It's okay to frog a project, and this year I am all for frogging projects that are sat on my shelves that I just know that are never going to get done. I have a mesh style shrug that I started making last year, and I know I'm never going to finish that because I hate how it's turning out already. But it's just sat on my shelves. I even put it in my things I need to finish making video, like what are my current whips video, but I'm not gonna finish that. I need to just frog it and it'll be such a weight lifted off my shoulders. I have other projects as well that are sat on my shelves that I'm like, I could really use that yarn for something else because I just know that I either don't like how the project is coming out or it's gonna just take me too long to finish and I'd rather use the yarn for something else, and that is perfectly okay. Obviously, if you know you're going to finish the project, don't frog it, but frogging isn't a bad thing, and it's so quick to frog a project. Have you ever pulled out your crochet stitches? You go like this and half your row is gone. My partner was flabbergasted when I was in the car and I was like, oh no, I went wrong 2 rows ago on my blanket, and like half an hour of work was undone in 5 minutes. It doesn't take that long, and the weight lifted off your shoulder will be so worth it once it is done. That is my last crochet do. My last crochet don't. Crochet don't number 5. This is for if you are selling your crochet pieces. but don't undercharge yourself. I know it can be hard because charging the price for crochet that you should charge is a lot, but the people who will pay that understand why you're charging that. If they don't want to pay you that, it's because they probably don't understand why. But crochet is a handmade thing. Crochet can't be machine made. So if you're telling someone that you're making, say, this checkered bag for £30, girl, I know that that bag didn't take you 2.5 hours to make plus material. That bag probably took me about 8.5 hours to make, maybe 9. I would be charging about £100 for that bag, and if people want to pay that, they'll pay that. If they don't want to pay that, they're not your target audience. I quoted somebody £150 for a blanket that they wanted me to make, and they said that it was too expensive for them, and I was like, okay, I'm really sorry, but I can't charge any less than this because it's gonna take me a long time to make it, plus the materials on top of that. And they were really understanding about it, and they said that's okay. When the time is right, I can come back and I'll get it. But at this current moment in time, it's too expensive, and that is perfectly okay. People always expect handmade things to be cheaper than what they are, and they don't understand that things do take hours to make, like literally hours. The granny squares that I'm working on in my granny square series, I timed myself and it took me an hour to make one square. Now if somebody said that they wanted a blanket out of that, you're gonna need, even just for a baby blanket, 45 squares. That's 45 hours of work. You have to really ask yourself, is it worth selling that piece? But people will pay if they want to pay. I have sold a good number of bags, and I'm doing a couple of tapestry commissions, and I've charged my worth, and people have paid because they understand that crochet is a handmade thing and it can't be replicated by a machine. They know that I deserve to charge for my time as well as materials. So don't undercharge yourself. If you are selling things, I wish you all the best. It's so exciting to see your makes getting used and seeing your customers' reaction if you give to them in person. It's just the best feeling in the world. I can't wait to do more of it this year. Those are my crochet do's and don'ts so far. I definitely have a lot more. If you want a part 2 of this video, let me know. Also, let me know if you agree with any of these or if you disagree with any of these. On my crochet ins and outs on TikTok, I definitely had some mixed opinions on that, so I would love to know your opinions on this. Again, these are just my opinions. I think that they are quite good, especially for beginners, in understanding what is going to help you progress with your crochet and what is just going to overwhelm you. Give this video a like if you did enjoy it. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. We just hit 700 subscribers and I am so grateful for each and every one of you. We're getting closer and closer to 1,000 subscribers, which is actually insane to think about. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!